Hey, what's up guys? I want to give you a different angle here, simply because my computer's right there. I'm in my office area, and instead of doing a webcam video, I want a better quality. So my regular camera's on the tripod here, just juicing up, charging, so I figured I'd turn it on. So there you go. Change of pace here, different view. Sometimes it's nice changing up, just get to see a little bit something different. Anyway, the purpose of this video today is to give you something you can do to very quickly test the tolerances of your knife. Okay, this is something I've done for a very long time, and it doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's just a reference. Okay, and what I'm talking about here is when you take a knife. Okay, here's the Microtech Select Fire. You take a knife. It has to be a folding knife, by the way, because we're testing the tolerances. And a fixed blade, the tolerances are your handle slabs against your tang. It doesn't make a difference. But in a folding knife, you want two things. You want a very good solid lockup so that there is no blade play. In this knife, there is nothing. No vertical, no horizontal. You can do circles. It's just one solid piece. That's what it feels like. When this thing locks, it's ridiculous, okay? Because the tolerances are very good. However, even though it's really, really tight when it locks up like that, when I release the lock, in this case it's a liner lock, when I release it, holding a knife just like this, the blade will swing freely. The reason it does that is because it's still a very smooth operating knife. This knife opens and closes like it's riding on wet glass. It is extremely, extremely smooth. So when I release the lock, it will freely swing like that. Okay? Now this is not oiled or anything. This is still from the factory and after some testing. Now this would, right now it just freely drops. It would swing better if I were to oil it. But this is just a very, very quick guide, or just a quick test you can do. Grab your favorite knife, whatever your EDC is, and try this. Whatever the locking mechanism, whether it's a liner lock or maybe even a compression lock on some Spydercos or a lock back, frame lock, whatever. Just release the lock. Be careful. Obviously, depending on your blade style, don't cut yourself. If you want to, angle it up a little bit so when it does drop, it won't drop on your fingers. But anyway, just release your locking mechanism and see if your blade freely moves. If it does, that means it's still, the tolerances inside your pivot area are very, very good. Okay, you have tight tolerances enough so that you don't have any blade play, but it's still smoothly operating. Whereas Kershaw needs work, a cheaper knife, more, I don't want to say sloppy tolerances, but nowhere near the standard of the Microtech. Okay, now this is an assisted knife, so I'm going to give you more examples, but if I were to release this lock, also a liner lock, nothing happens. Okay, because it's too tight in the pivot area here. When it is locked up, in this particular knife, there's no blade play either. Okay, no blade play in any direction. But there's a lot of pressure in this pivot, so that when I release the lock, it will not freely drop. Okay, it's just not going to do that because it doesn't have as good tolerances. I do have to push it down. Now, just to give you, just to show you, I know you might think it's assisted, so there's pressure on it. It's not going to do that no matter what. Once you release that lock, all the way up to this point right here, it should freely move. Okay, right here is where it starts rubbing on that the back bar, which creates the assisted motion. So right here, it should still drop to this point if it was to the same standard as some of the higher end knives. All right, but it doesn't. That's just one example. Let me show you. It doesn't matter what locking mechanism. Here is an axis lock, a Benchmade. This is the bone collector. Okay, it feels really smooth. When I open this knife, it feels great. Solid lockup. There's no blade play on this whatsoever. I can, use the axis lock to kind of flip it open or closed. And, it seems like it's great, right? When I open this all the way and I release the lock, nothing happens. All right. The reason nothing happens is because it's still, the handle scales here are pinching the blade. There's a pressure on the blade. All right. When you have something like the Reeve Sabenza that actually has on the inside a bushing, it keeps perfect tension. So no matter how much you tighten that pivot screw, your blade, it's going to be perfect every single time. It's going to be very smooth to operate, although when it's locked open, it's not going to be sloppy. Okay. When you have cheaper knives, I don't have another example in front of me, but you have to play with the pivot, and I know what I'm talking about. When you make a knife loose enough where you can flip it open, but now it's too loose, so it's flopping around. You don't want that. You want it nice and tight, but still, when you release that lock, you want it really, really smooth, okay? So in this case, this knife it's too tight. It doesn't have that. I release that lock, it doesn't want to freely drop, okay? So I could adjust the pivot a little bit here, but then I might get blade play from this. This is still a very nice knife. It's an extremely nice knife, and you will see a review on it. But that's just one example. Here is a very good example of a Benchmade mini griptilian. Okay, now this knife here is extremely smooth. It's very well used. It can, easily open and close by using the lock. And when I release the axis lock, unlike the bone collector, it just freely drops. You see how it kind of swings there? It's extremely smooth. But when this is completely open, there's no blade play. There's no movement whatsoever because the tolerances are really, really good. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this knife is better than this knife because you can play around with the pivots. But in the case of the Microtech, and I'll show you this in future videos really close in detail how this lock is set up. I mean, they have a very specific cutout in the base of the tang. It's not like, well, this isn't a great example, but in this liner lock, basically the liner meets up with the bottom of the blade, the tang, okay? It just kind of meets up, it's just metal on metal. They're both just flat ends, okay? Perhaps they're both ground so that they try to meet up flat, so it's a nice even meet. But in a cheaper knife like that, they don't pay attention to that much detail. They don't go in that much depth to make sure that connection where they contact each other is perfect. With the Microtech, it's specifically cut out to accept this specific piece of metal as if it's one. The tolerances are much, much higher. Okay, that allows for a perfect lockup, but still an extremely smooth operating folder. So, I mean, to have something like this in your hand, to play with it, to really get a feel for that, this is where you start realizing why the prices are what they are. A lot of people cannot justify a $300 knife, and that's totally understandable. And I can't personally afford to buy this knife. This knife was sent to me for the review purposes. That's all it is. If I had the money, I'd buy this. I'd buy Microtechs all day long. I used to be a huge Microtech collector. When I still didn't have any bills or anything when I was younger, and I was able to put all my money towards my hobbies. This is the kind of stuff that I really, really enjoyed. This isn't like a distinctive test, my knife's better than yours because I can do this and yours can't. All this is really showing is that you do have very, very good tolerances when your knife can lock up that solid and have nothing, no movement, but still you release whatever kind of lock you have and it just swings freely like that. Really awesome. Of course, you can add tons and tons of lubrication to your knife, throwing some Militech in there or Ballistol or Tough Glide or whatever floats your boat, and it will make your knife smoother. But to do this with a dry knife like this one, it's just showing me again that each individual piece that makes up this knife as a whole is perfect. When you grind a piece of metal, let's say here's the flat, here's the base of the blade. Okay, here's our blade sticking up, here's the bottom of the tang, right? Now your lock has to meet up with that. When this is completely flat and this piece right here matches perfectly, you have a great lockup. When they're both just kind of, whatever, and it will lock the blade, but it's not quite as flat or whatever, that's on your cheaper knives. That's why you do get a little blade play. You get a little wiggle because it's not a solid lockup. When you're spending a lot of money on knives like that, that's one of the things you're getting is attention to detail, and you're getting just perfect fits. So anyway, no different than with guns. Some of the really expensive guns, the custom 1911s and stuff, people go, they scratch their head. Who's going to pay $4,000 for a gun? It's a $4,000 gun because someone made sure that every single part is perfect. They perfectly match. Okay, tolerances. It's a big deal. And what are you getting with tight tolerances like that? You're getting a quality item that's going to last a lot longer. So that's why you pay the money for that. You buy a $300 knife once, and if you take care of it, you'll have it for the rest of your life. Or you can buy $20, $30 knives every couple of years when they break. It really doesn't make a difference. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Whatever floats your boat, I guess. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time, as always. Hope you enjoyed the change of view. It's nice to have a different background every now and then. But that's it. Just want to make a quick video. Of course, it's not quick. I don't think I'm capable of making a quick video. That's it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.